Okay, welcome everyone to the Pro Trade Room Plus and Tesla Earnings API report. My name is Lee Goldstein, the trading director at 10 Minute Trades. Please remember all the trades we discuss are for educational purposes. I am not a financial advisor, and it is possible to lose money trading futures. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Let me know that you can hear and that you're all getting ready to go. We're going to talk about Tesla and the challenges that this earnings release brings to us. Okay, so welcome everyone. Make sure that you've synced up your time by going to the website time.is, please. Okay, and if you're joining us on YouTube, thank you for joining, and we want to say hello. We don't usually stream earnings. So let's talk a little bit about what we could expect from Tesla. We also do have the API report, and I'll pay attention to the API report after we're done, completely done with Tesla. So there are a variety of issues that we have to talk about. And there's not a lot of other companies releasing at the same time. There's a few companies that maybe if they were releasing by themselves without a Tesla, there might be interest. But I really think because nobody's thinking about anything except Tesla right now, Tesla's going to take all the info, all the attention, and none of the earnings that are releasing around the same time are going to matter much. Using the tool earningswhispers.com, we can scroll down and see you've got, years ago, Intuitive Surgical used to be a big earnings play. Capital One Financial, it's a bank. That's all I could say. It's a bank. SAP, it's a company, a software company. Those maybe years ago might have had some interest, but today I don't think anyone's paying attention to anything except Tesla. And, there's so much surrounding this release that in some ways goes beyond the fact that it's just a regular financial release. You've got all the politics surrounding the company. You've got, all of those issues as to whether or not that's going to play into how the earnings are. This quarter, the politics probably are going to hurt the company because the sales have been terrible. Um, Sales were terrible before the politics, but they were worsened, no doubt about it. There's a lot of competition in the EV market, but there's not a lot of competition in the robot market, in the Starlink market. Tesla does a lot more than cars. So there was a thought initially to only short the play. I don't ever like trying to guess the direction an earnings or a news event is going to push the market. I don't like to do it, never like to do it. Usually don't get it right when that happens. Um, but I have to say, I would be shocked. It was like Boeing 2 quarters ago when Boeing was first facing those lawsuits. We didn't take it short, but we talked about taking it only short on the earnings, and it was a huge short. And the same thing was true of United Health when when they were hacked. Forget the CEO being murdered. They were hacked about 2 quarters before that, if I remember correctly. They tried to hide it, and they just weren't very forthcoming. And I don't even think that was the first time their data has been hacked. And the earnings were extremely negative. And the last 2 quarters, that company has had very, very extreme shorting of earnings, extreme short side earnings. There's other issues, though, that we have to deal with Tesla. And you have to deal with the data feeds, and you have to be concerned about the data feeds. Um, the way that we trade sometimes does not allow us to trade. I mean, that's with prop accounts. And even sometimes in a cash account, you could get price freezing, or not so much price freezing as chart freezing. But we have seen too many times to mention that the data feeds in our prop accounts just can't handle either the amount of orders that are coming through. We don't really know. They will never admit to why. They will only sometimes occasionally admit that yes, it happened, and rarely admit or allow you to get your account back if an account should blow up because a trade wasn't filled properly on a faulty delayed data feed. So with something like Tesla, it's entirely possible that a normal trade just won't fill properly, and the orders will show up orange on the chart. They'll be rather strange. And if we look at what happened last quarter, now last quarter was very interesting with Tesla. Last quarter, it was January 29th. We had Tesla, Microsoft, IBM, and Meta all releasing their earnings the same day. I don't think we've ever seen anything like that previously. Nevertheless, when it came time to trade Tesla, here's what happened. And I do anticipate a certain time to expect Tesla, but we don't have a history. We don't have a very good history of Tesla trading by itself in the past 2 years because I don't really have a video where Tesla, I'll check one April video to double check, but that may, if anything, that might be the only time Tesla traded by itself. It almost always trades with other large earnings. So it's very difficult to come up with the best setup in the world when you don't have the same setup occurring over and over. And that's one of the challenges of earnings in general. They often trade quite differently from quarter to quarter, but we have found quite a few that are very reliable. Now you could see that Tesla released their earnings in January, 1603. Watch, there it is, and 35 seconds. And those are important numbers that we have to remember. In January, Tesla released at 1603.35. October, 1603.23. July, 1603.07. April, '09. January, not sure. Maybe 56, maybe 1604.30. Getting into 23, we might have had a 402. We had a 405.17 in July. So there's been definite inconsistency, although not so much for the past year or so, but there has been previous inconsistency in Tesla's release time. All I can say is this is a supercharged, high volatility possibility, extra riskier report to trade because of all of that info. Somewhat of an inconsistent release time, although, I do think I have a very good setup. I'm just not totally sure if the setup should be unidirectional. Should we go short only? But what's the worst thing that happens if you go short only? Nothing. Maybe you won't get filled to the long side. So what? you're not going to get stopped out. Your life isn't going to end. So I might actually take a short only on Tesla just because it's a very strong possibility that could be what happens. Again, I hesitate to do it because almost every time I've done that in the past, the market tricks me and it goes both ways. Now, there is an end of the day trade that we've been looking at. I'm not sure I'm going to look at it today, but we've been talking about it in the room, and we do have this micro MNQ trade. Today may be a good day to trade micros only anyway on Tesla. They are going to raise margins. Most probably margins will be up on the NQ and the MNQ. And we have been looking at an end of the day trade that I don't think I'm going to really pay it any attention today. Just because I want to go over Tesla, go over some of the videos. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention it because I do look at it many, many days. You could see that there's been significant volatility in the markets. A fear of missing out. Calvin, it's a great point. It's a great point. One of the biggest, hardest things to deal with in trading in general is the fear of missing out, of course. Um, but, we've learned to live with that fear of missing out with trap trades. So many times a trap trade, just our tiers are too big. In a market that's this volatile, I'd rather not have a fill than get a fill that stops me out. I mean, that's honestly the way that I prefer to approach our setups these days. I'd much rather not get filled than get stopped out. So let's do two things. Setup number one. And I'm tempted. So what I'm going to do is trade one contract. I'm going to trade full size NQ. And I'm going to have a setup for after the news. So after the news, I'm going to set up a reverse continuation, one position with a 50 tick target and a 50 tick stop and one position. And I'm just setting that up as a reverse continuation. I'm going to label it reverse continuation. And I'm going to trade that in my number 8 Bullinox account. I'm going to check to make sure that's the right account to trade it in. Number 8 is where I want to be. So that's where I'm going to trade it. So number 8, which is a pretty fresh prop account. It's entirely possible that, you could have a significant data feed issue. So keep that in mind. Now, on regular Tesla, the trade itself, I feel reasonably comfortable that Tesla is going to release their earnings around 4:03 and a couple of seconds after that. That's the history. I read to you all the fill times: 4:03:35, 4:03:22, 4:03:07, 4:03:09, 4:04:20 when you go back more than a year. But we have a year of 403s. We've got a year of 403s. I did say I wanted to look at April, the April video, because April It was Tesla trading by itself. So let's take a look. What time did Tesla release their earnings in April? Now, another interesting thing to understand about Tesla, Tesla has never been a family money trade. It's never been an easy earnings trade. It's always been difficult. And I think you can attribute that to one of the issues with Tesla. When we first started looking at it a few years ago, or maybe probably even more than a few years ago, 3 years ago, I would say, they were trading at 4:40, 4:45 p.m. They weren't trading with other companies generally, and they were just doing whatever they felt like doing when it came to their earnings. Then it changed, and Tesla started releasing their earnings around when other major companies were releasing their earnings. So it changed. And that was about 3 years ago at least. I wouldn't quote me on the 3 years, but it was in that time frame. It wasn't recent. So in April, we put our orders on the chart right about 1603, and Tesla shoots up, and it was a small winning trade, trading it in cash. Okay? That was trading cash. It was a very fast move. It was a very fast reversal, but we were able to grab a couple of $100. It reversed very quickly, so generally what I do on an earnings trade is I like to protect target one and the profit from target one if target one gets hit. I'm not protecting target one, I'm protecting the profit created, or at least part of that profit. Okay? Now that end of the day trade is going to take place right now. Calvin, I know you're trading it, so why don't you just let everybody know how it went today? What I'm going to do is just watch it. Let's just watch it because it's literally 45 seconds away. And then I'll show you the way I'm going to trade Tesla. So we're just watching. It's been a very bullish day today. And you know, the when a market has been destroyed the way this market has been destroyed, of course, you occasionally see very strong days, and some people think those are great days to sell, get yourself out of the market. Certainly, if anything happens with the Fed chair, I wouldn't want to be in the market long if something ridiculous happens. Now, not the biggest end of day, but it did go down somewhat. Okay. We don't have a setup for it yet, TJ. We're looking at it. We're looking at it. All right, but just that's the time we look at 1550 for an end of the day trade. So Tesla, if we're going to trade Tesla earnings, right now we will put our bracket on the chart just to get a feel for how volatile the market is, but it doesn't mean very much because Tesla is more than 2 minutes after the close. Okay? So the volatility of the market right now is not going to be anything even similar necessarily to the volatility of the market when the market closes and then 2 minutes after. Tesla is a breakout trade. And let me load my template. And I went and did some testing just to see, what time did Tesla's earnings actually get released? That was the thing I was most interested in. That's generally what we're looking at. And safety of brackets, etc. Now I thought I saved a template. If I didn't, maybe I didn't save it. Oh, yes, I did. No, I didn't. Okay. No harm done. I'll just show everybody how I'm going to trade it. Because I believe that this is not going to work. Oh, okay. Nope, I didn't change the name. All right. Putting the orders on the chart. 1602.55. Orders going on the chart. 1602.55. I'm using an 85 bracket. I'm using an 85 bracket. If there's a tiny meaningless move, I'm not going to get filled. Okay? I'm using targets, and you don't have to use my targets. You can use targets anywhere from 20 to 200 ticks. And this goes for the MNQ as well. Okay? Goes for the MNQ as well. Targets anywhere between 20 and 200. Okay? You don't need to copy my targets. The stop on MNQ, I would use 250 ticks. 250 ticks. On the NQ, I want to use a 100 tick target. It's a huge target. I'm going to go with 80 because of the size of the risk. 80 is a big stop. It's $5 a tick. Now, the biggest worry I have, in all seriousness, is data feed. That's the thing that concerns me the most, that the data feed will not get a good fill. So, because that happened to me last month. And I didn't show it, so I'm going to show that. I'm not done. So here's the setup. Again, breakout. Orders going on the chart, 1602.55. I'm expecting Tesla's orders earlier than 404. Okay, before 404. That's what I expect. Bracket, 85. It's a big bracket. I expect that Tesla could move hundreds of ticks. It could cause a move easily, hundreds of ticks. If it's a small move, then you might have a crappy trade that gets filled and doesn't give you any profit because all your profit is in the bracket. It happens, but I don't think it's real possible today. Then the decision is, are you going to take a direction on this trade, or are you going to trade it normal, long, short? So, this is a lot of fun. It really is. I really think this is a lot of fun. I'm going to trade it in the same account as my reverse continue. And you can always trade the reverse continue if you get the direction wrong in the main trade. But I'm trading short only. And like I said, I never do that, but I'm doing it. Trading short only. We have under optional a direction command, and it says both, and I'm putting it on short only. Short only. Now I'm thinking about something. It may not be necessary to use as big a bracket if we're only going in one direction. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to continue along the path I've chosen. It's a wonderful path. It's a path where at the end of the path we reach the light, a beautiful shining light of profits. Okay, one more time the whole setup. And thanks for that, Calvin. The end of the day trade was a winner. We will have some fun with the end of the day trade. I'll make you a deal, everybody. We are having a challenge. It's coming up in a couple of weeks. If enough people sign up for the challenge, if I get Calvin's permission, we'll talk about the end of the day trade. All right. The activation time, 1602.55. End of the day bracket activation, 1602.55. I expect Tesla 1603.10ish. All right. If they come out early, we still have our reverse continuation, right? We still have our reverse continuation to use that. We've got targets anywhere between 20 and 200 ticks. Make an intelligent choice. Whatever you like to choose is fine. You don't have to copy mine. And we've got a stop of 80. I'm going to put my charts on sim for a moment because I'm going to put my time on 0 for a moment. I'm going to save my Tesla template for today. Tesla. Oh, we had the right template. 422, 25, and I'll save it. I'm going to put my time on 0. It's sort of not so meaningful because right now the market's pushing up. Tesla can easily change the market direction with their earnings. This market has seen fairly extreme volatility today. If you notice, the NASDAQ, hang on one second, the NASDAQ, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to do this. Put the NASDAQ on points. Get rid of my cursor. I don't want my cursor. The NASDAQ is up 476 points. Now, we're only short, so we're not going to see a bracket. We're just going to see an order on the short side. Okay? It's a little bit unusual. It's a little bit unusual. Now, you got to set your time to 0. All right? To see those orders. So, right now the market's moving up. Our bracket's plenty far away. If there's a nice move short, then we'll get filled. Otherwise, I'm going to miss Tesla. All right? Like I said, normally I don't trade this way. You don't have to. You could leave your direction on both and trade both. And if it gets filled long, you could have a winning trade. I do believe that there's going to be a big short opportunity. It could be after the news, right? Could be after the news. Apply it, put the time back, okay it. Market's closed. Put the software on. Now, everyone's saying 10 minutes till Tesla. We know better. Tesla says they're trading the earnings at 410. That's the release time in Earnings Whisper. That's the release time in the internet, on the internet. We know they don't release their earnings at 410. They haven't released their earnings at 410 in more than a year. So, is that just part of the plan? Is that just part of the way they like to do things? Just, we don't know. Now, if their earnings come out early, we'll miss it. It could happen. Their earnings could come out early. We could miss it. I don't anticipate that. They could be very much later. So you want to keep your hand on that adjust button. You may have to press the adjust button to center your brackets so that you don't get filled if Tesla is later than expected. Okay? So right now we're just watching. There's been, reasonable volatility after the market closed. We have a news feed that will tell us. I've got two of them. I've got the news feed in my Thinkorswim chart, and I have an extra one open on the side, which shows us when Tesla's earnings come out. Our orders are going to show up on the chart in about 20 seconds. If I get filled short early, I'll probably stay in. I'd rather not get filled early, okay? I'd rather not get filled early. $16.03.13. Just waiting. So now it makes me very concerned that Tesla, who knows when they're releasing these earnings? We don't know. They're way later than we would have thought. They're way later than they've been um, over the past year. So now we have entered the zone of unknowing, the twilight zone of unknowingness. Tesla, no idea when these earnings are coming out. We're into '04. We're into '04. So maybe they're going to be at we're going to have to manipulate our orders on the chart for 5 minutes, trying to prevent fills. If you press the adjust button, it will recenter your brackets. Okay? It will recenter your brackets. You can also turn the trade on and off. Break out, turn it back on. Okay? That will recenter your brackets. Now we're definitely in an area of just total unknown. We're in the unknown zone. Now, look at the move up. It looks like the initial move up on Tesla is long. What did I say? I didn't want to get filled. I didn't want to get filled long. I didn't want to get filled long. But notice the futures, they didn't really go up. They did not really go up on this news. I don't know that this is a smart trade to allow to fill at this point. So if you want to cancel your trade, because this is not a typical earnings trade that we normally see. But what's the guidance going to be? The earnings are out. They missed. They'll revisit their guidance. I'm going to let this fill. They missed on revenue. Not getting a very good move. So now it's just chopping around. My advice would be to sit it out. If you let it fill, the risk is unbelievable. Unbelievable. The price action just not really amenable to a great trade. I'm canceling. I'm canceling. Canceling. I'm just going to watch. If you have to trade, you have your reverse continuation. But, this is, in all honesty, if you got filled short, you got filled short. You had brackets. If you didn't use the adjust button, you know the deal, folks, if you've been trading earnings with us. we did not get much of a burst. It did move up. It did go short. Ultimately, but that upward move was not a very powerful move to the upside. It looked like the initial stock move might have popped up a little bit, but still, this was not what I would call a bullish move on Tesla. So, but who knows what they're saying in the commentary? How much of it is even true? You know, you can't trust a word that anyone says in their statements these days, probably. Certainly not coming from Tesla these days. So for us, no trade. For us, no trade. And I'm not surprised. I'm not really surprised. I really did think there'd be a big burst, and I thought either we'd totally miss it or it would be a big burst to the short side. I still think, if anything, you know, the market's very bullish today, so it's not my big day to jump into a short, you know, just based on their news, but it is leaking to the downside. You know, I do have an MNQ chart open. If I was dying to trade short, I could trade with low risk on my MNQ. I'm just going to watch Tesla. I don't suffer that much from a fear of missing out. I've missed so many trades that it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. It really just makes no difference. And yep, they were at '07 today, 3 minutes late. No surprise there that they, you know, did something not the way we always expect them to do it. So how much are you willing? Forget, I'm not even going to say what I was going to say. I'm going to just watch. I'm going to watch. All right. So I'm just looking to see if anyone traded. A couple of people traded short a little bit. I want to thank everybody on YouTube. We're going to stick around for the API report. I'm going to watch the market for a few minutes, and then we'll go over to API at 4:15. Thank you on YouTube for joining us. Sometimes trading is not very exciting. Um, Francisco, I'm sorry, I can't fix that right now. Next stream, I'll fix it. Next stream, I'll fix it. We had a no trade on that, and I'll see everybody next time on YouTube. We're streaming a couple of more times this week, so you'll get an email, you'll get a notification. Hit the notification bell, and